What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Dead Noise. I'm Chris, and thanks to the power of Zoom, I am here with Austin from the classic rock revivalist band Rex Tycoon. How you doing today, sir?
That's a good way to put it. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to talk with you. Now, I say classic rock revivalist, but you have a very fresh take on a throwback sound. How would you describe your sound to people who might not have heard you before?
So it's usually the answer I give, and sometimes I feel bad because I feel like it sounds like a non-answer, and to some degree it probably is. But when people ask me like, what kind of band is it? Like I know they're looking for like a subgenre kind of label, but I always just say it's straight up rock music. That's usually what I tell people. Because that's really how I think of it. It's just being kind of just like straight up kind of rock and roll, very like straightforward, like four chord, three chord, progressions, very simple song structures. It is kind of like a throwback to rock bands of yesteryear. But I like how you put it, where it does have sort of a modern or spin on its, because I feel like a lot of bands will kind of do the throwback thing, but it'll feel very specifically derivative to like, oh, this band is doing like Cheap Trick, but in 2024 or 2025 or whatever. But I think we've kind of somehow managed to get it get it to a point where it feels like it's definitely a throwback, but it's kind of like a weird, sort of almost kind of unique, like melting pot of specific bands and sounds that are all sort of throwback.
Yeah, I remember seeing the press materials, and they were saying for fans of Cheap Trick and Gin Blossoms, and those were the first two that like caught my attention because I grew up loving both of those bands.
Yes,
And for like I love talking to metalcore bands and deathcore bands and like just metal bands in general, but there's
right.
just something about like just a straightforward rock band I get to talk to that gets me really excited. Because like I always say my favorite band is Blue Oyster Cult and my favorite artist is Alice Cooper because I can't pick between the two. So I'm kind of curious for you guys and your sound. Like, who were some of your biggest influences and favorite bands from that era?
The first one who I usually think about is like Lou Reed. And a lot of that is kind of in like I don't really do vocals exactly like him or anything, but it's sort of in that dry kind of, I kind of over time have stumbled into like a little bit more of an aggressive kind of like sing talk on most tracks, kind of loudly while I do it. But I was definitely inspired by him, just kind of the way that he kind of like sings, speaks. So a lot of like, yeah, Lou Reed in the Velvet Underground, we think about a lot when we're writing music. Specifically, I like, because I'm sort of the main songwriter and lyricist for most of the songs. So some of my big influences lyrically are like a lot of like old country music too. Like John Prine is a big influence on me. Um, we've gotten some people have told us like they can kind of hear the Husker Du in the music a little bit too, and I think that comes through on the live show, especially because of a lot of it has like the guitar tone, because we kind of play with like a very like kind of trebly guitar tone live that kind of sounds like Bob Mould a little bit, I think. But a big influence for like the band as a whole, I think, because the band is made up of me, and then Keith is our bass player, Jared plays the drums, and Joey is the other guitar player. And they're all like obsessed with the Beatles. So that's like, I don't know if we necessarily sound like the Beatles really, but that is definitely a like, they're like crazy Beatles nerds. I like the Beatles a lot, but I'm just not like a Beatles historian like these guys seem to be. So I think that's also like a pretty big influence that kind of runs through it as well. I don't know if it shows in the final product that much. I think like Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers is another band that I think about a lot in terms of sort of similar to the Lou Reed, like dry vocal kind of thing. Although he has a beautiful singing voice too, which I do not really. But just in the way that it's like it's kind of like they're kind of like a punk band, but it's like also very straightforward, kind of classic rock ish, just with like some punk tendencies.
I'm glad you mentioned Lou Reed because the whole time I'm listening through the album, for some reason Mick Jagger came to mind, like when it came to your voice.
Oh yeah,
But I'm like,
we love the Stones. Yeah.
I was thinking, like Lou Reed for some reason completely like passed my memory. But I kept telling myself, I'm like, it's not just Mick Jagger that I'm hearing. There's something else, and I think it was Lou Reed.
I think yeah, that's I never really thought of myself, but I think some maybe in like the inflections of my voice sometimes, I think it is sort of almost Jagger-esque, just like with not nearly as much bad pun. I mean, bad like rhyme, not intended, but not as much like swagger as like he, will perform with and stuff. But yeah, we love the Stones too. So like just like a lot of and like our drummer is really into like the Birds and a lot of that old like kind of like country like twangy like California like rock stuff from the 60s and 70s too. He's really into. So I think it's kind of like a big melting pot of and like me and the drummer especially and the bass player a little bit Keith like we love like old US hardcore,
Mm.
a lot of like current US hardcore. So it kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint an exact influence, but yeah, it's a big mix of a lot of that kind of stuff. And we like Big Star and like old power pop too.
Yeah, that definitely shines through too.
It's funny you mentioned the for fans of on the press release because our buddy Jem wrote the press release and he's awesome and I love how it turned out. It's the first time we've really had a press release. I guess the second time, but it was the first time he wrote one for us, and I had like audibly laughed out loud at the for fans of because I just like would have if I had made it myself, I wouldn't have thought to put any of those on there. But I was glad that he did because I was like, we do like I love the Gin Blossoms, love Cheap Trick. The one that really made me laugh that he put on there was Randy Newman, but I was like, oh, I can kind of see what he's saying. But I just
Was
thought that was so funny to me for some reason that he put Randy Newman on there.
was Fiddler on there too?
He did put Fiddler on there, which I honestly none of us really listened to that band that much. So I actually I haven't really dove into them, but since we got the press release, I was like, maybe I should listen to Fiddler if he seems to think it sounds like us or that we draw inspiration from
Yeah, I know two whole songs by them, and when I
it.
saw that in the press release and then I listened to the album, I'm like, I can't hear it. Nothing against Fiddler, I just could not hear the connection.
Yeah,
Um,
there was someone else on the for fans of too that I was sort of like I guess we could have taken them off, but I just kind of trusted Jim's instinct and left them on there. But I was kind of like, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, buddy. But
I'm I'm not seeing the vision.
yeah, right.
So your guys' debut album, No Limit to Love, it comes out August 1st via Smart Punk Records. How excited are you for people to hear the album in its entirety?
So we're very stoked on it. We're pretty happy with. I mean, we're really happy with the way it turned out. This is our first time. It was our first time going to a studio. We've really just like recorded our own music.
Mhm.
Our bass player Keith is like a pretty good like home, producer, home engineer. So we would just record our shit ourselves in our basements and stuff. Keith would mix it, and master it. So it's our first time doing like kind of like the real deal. Going to the studio, working with a producer, working with having someone else mix and master it. And because previously we would do all our music ourselves and mostly self-release it for the most part, except for one EP that we did with a label. We never really sit on music. Like we just record it and like put it out. So this is the first like we recorded the record in September of 2023. So which is pretty standard for a band, to record a record and it doesn't come out for a year or two, but we're not used to that.
Mhm.
So this being the first time we've done it that way, so I'm at least me, I'm definitely pretty excited to like finally have it out in the world and see if people dig it, see where the smart punk thing kind of takes us. Just I'm definitely excited to get it out there and kind of like move on to the next thing.
Yeah, you definitely are part of a great label and a really good roster. And you also have a fantastic PR team behind you, if I do say so myself. I love the people at Adam
Yeah,
Splitter.
we've
Uh,
yeah we've been really happy with everything that like everything with Smart Punk has been like a dream so far. They weren't really on my radar when we were shopping the album around, and then um, I was just thinking about like cool records that have come out recently, and one of my favorite records that came out either last year or the year before was I guess last year was the take. It's called Dial M for Meds by a band called Taking Meds, who was on Smart Punk, and Smart
Hmm.
Punk put it out. And we had played a show with them, and they kind of blew me away. And I just like loved their record. It was one of my favorite albums of the year. And so I was like, who put that out? And then I sort of started looking into Smart Punk, got into contact with them. And once I talked to Matt and got to like know him and have some like phone calls with him, it just like from the very beginning, it became pretty clear that it was like it was the right move.
Now, my favorite songs, I was kind of torn between the title track and Don't Make Sense. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have any memories or recollections from the making of those two songs that kind of stick out to you when you look back on the making of the album?
So those two songs, it's funny because we've always like kind of thought of those two songs as well and like tandem because
Hmm.
um like pretty much I guess we ended up sort of mixing it up more, but playing those songs live, we almost always play them back to back in the set list just because of the way Don't Make Sense. It kind of ends like abruptly and it ends with like it ends with like a vocal line with no other instruments in the background, which is like not something we ever do a lot.
Hmm.
And so it kind of just makes like a good transition into No Limit to Love, like we just found just from like practicing and stuff. So I guess like when we were doing the track list, we knew for sure that those two were going to be next to each other too. But I think like just like recording the record, so we did it pretty quickly. We were in the studio for 3 days and we did the record in like 2.5 days pretty much.
Wow.
And so like we drove in on a Friday night because we're from Pittsburgh, but we recorded in a studio in Bloomington, Indiana. So we drove over on Friday. We actually ended up playing a gig Friday night because we figured we'd drive there Friday, stay the night at the studio, and just wake up Saturday and like have the whole day to get started. And there were like some cool. Bloomington has a lot of cool like kind of like hardcore, a lot of like youth crew, like kind of straight edge punk bands.
Hmm.
And there was like one specifically called Full Stride that we wanted to go see, and we figured that would be fun to do on Friday night. You know, go to their gig. You know, give us something to do when we get into town. But something happened where like the touring bands fell off the gig. I don't know. They had to cancel. They couldn't make it to the gig. So we actually ended up being asked to just like hop on as a touring band, which was cool because we got to play like a pretty dope show. You know, get some money to put towards the record. But so Saturday we just like live tracked everything to get the drums, you know, done live, like, you know, without a click. We just kind of played the songs, you know. We ended up doing a lot of takes of the songs, and I feel like that was something we didn't think a lot about. And so I remember like just being like, damn, like we've never, because usually when we would have like band, like we play like a 20-25 minute set, like that's pretty much what we always play as like a, you know, we're not like a headlining, selling out a club kind of band. So we just like always kind of play a short set, leave them wanting more. That is sort of the idea. And so like when we practice, we don't like practice for like we just practice for like an hour, you know, hour and a half, whatever. So like we'd never played like for like, you know, a whole like 5 hours straight, you know what I mean? So like I do remember being like man, like my fingers and like I didn't know that they could like hurt like this, you know. I was like, damn, we're like such lazy motherfuckers that actually like being in the band or being in the studio and like actually working really hard and playing like the track, you know, 10 times or whatever. Because it was also like we were like getting the live drum tracks, but it was also like the producer Damien kind of like, you know, figuring out, you know how he's setting everything up, making sure everything sounds good. So I think specifically, I don't know about those two songs if there's any interesting stories about them, but I just remember the process as a whole was kind of like, oh damn, like, and I remember I was doing vocals the whole time too because we were just kind of like just getting scratch vocal takes, and we weren't going to use those vocal takes. We were going to do vocals the next day on the second day, but like we just played for so long and did so many takes that like I was so excited to be in the studio for the first time that at the end of the day, I was like, damn, I like kind of strained my voice. I'm like, and I was like, I shouldn't have been like going so hard, like playing this, you know. And I was like nervous that my voice would blow out the next day on the real vocal takes, which luckily didn't happen. But
Well, you said earlier that you were kind of ready to kind of go on to the next thing.
yeah,
I'm assuming that means like the next album is kind of in the writing stage or something like that.
yeah,
When
pretty
it
much
comes to
exactly.
the recording techniques, were there any lessons that you kind of learned throughout the making of this record that you think about bringing into this upcoming one?
There were definitely some. Damien did a good job of. I mean, I'm not like a gear nerd or like recording guy at all, but I do because Keith and Joey for the most part would like record. Mostly Keith would record our old stuff when we would self-record. So he was definitely kind of. You could see him having fun, like watching like a real producer in the studio and like learning from that, which I wasn't really taking that much in that sense, but he did a good job of like producing us. So there are definitely things I learned, I feel like, about songwriting from doing the record, where you know, it would say like maybe like you don't need a lead guitar part here, because like specifically for the track that's coming out, the second single that's going to be coming out called Bird on the Bricks. Originally, it had like a lead guitar part that went the whole way through the song, and then Damien kind of talked, like he kind of suggested that during the verse, which like most songs are like this, during the verse there's like not the lead guitar part because it was kind of wrestling with the vocals too much, like competing with each other. So I definitely learned some stuff from him about like just like songwriting and sort of like arranging things,
Hmm.
that I'm definitely um, thinking a lot more about now as we're like, because we're in the writing process for album 2. Um, I'm definitely thinking a lot more about some of that stuff, and he did a good job too of he got a lot of ideas in there about like background vocals, like using Keith especially because he's got a really good voice for that kind of stuff. So I definitely, I learned a lot. I feel like about good ways to arrange songs, like our songs, and so I'm thinking a lot more about that as I'm writing these new songs for this, whatever the second album or next release ends up being.
And what can you tell me about the artwork for No Limit to Love as far as maybe who did the photography or kind of how it kind of visually coincides with the way the record sounds? Like what went into the decision making process when it came to the artwork for the album?
So for the artwork, we knew that we wanted to do a band picture,
Oh.
because we hadn't really done that yet, and we thought, and kind of like you were saying, like the band is definitely a bit of a throwback band in general, and we thought it would be cool to do kind of like a old 60s 70s style like band photo on the album cover. So we knew we wanted to do that, and previously a guy who we had worked with before, we did an EP called What's Good that he did the album art for, and he did an album art for a single, and he's done like some tour posters and shirts and logos for us. But he's this really awesome artist named Zach Hobbs. He works with a lot of cool bands like Angel Dust, and he just posted like a tour flyer for like Baroness and stuff like that. Or is that how you say that band name? Baroness,
I
Baroness.
think
You
it's
know what I'm talking
Baroness.
about?
I'm not
Like
sure.
stoner metal band or whatever. But so he's like a dope ass artist, and we knew we wanted to work with him. He does a lot of cool, like kind of like collage, fucked up style artwork, and we knew that we thought it'd be cool to mix the band photo with like his creative mind. And he was really stoked when I approached him about the idea because he was like, "No one asked me to do like band photo." Like he's like, "I don't think I've ever done one." Like, so he was really excited about it. So we got our buddy Dan Dunn, who's like the fifth member of the band at this point. He's like our photographer buddy. He's come with us on the road a couple times. He's like shot a bunch of our shows. He shot the music. He also like pretty much directed and shot the music video we did for Jesus Drives.
Hmm.
So yeah, we got our guy Dan Dunn to shoot the photo. And he like shot some on. I think we ended up using a digital shot, but he shot some on film. He shot some on digital. We didn't really know, like going into the photo shoot, we didn't know exactly what we wanted to do. It was kind of just like we're gonna show up, go to a few locations, and kind of just like figure it out. We were kind of torn because we're just like bad at planning shit. We procrastinate forever. We're just like a typical lazy like band full of like stoners and shit who like can't get anything done. So by the time we shot because the record was finished um, probably in early 2024, and we were shopping it around to labels and stuff, so we didn't know when it was going to come out. But we hadn't done anything with the album art until like January of this year. We finally like got together and we're like, we're gonna do the photo shoot. I also live in Virginia now, while the rest of the band is still
Mm.
in Pittsburgh, so it's a little bit harder to. I'm like 7 hours away, so it's a little bit harder to do stuff sometimes. But so we got together in January to shoot, and we were kind of torn because we knew the record was coming out in the summer. We thought it sounded like a pretty summery kind of record for the most part, but we're like, okay, we're shooting, and it's like it was January, so there's like snow everywhere in Pennsylvania. It's like very cold. But we were kind of thinking for a little bit that might be a cool contradiction or like contrast, is that it's a wintry album cover
Hmm.
with a summery record. But we ended up choosing or getting a photo that we thought actually felt pretty kind of warm, like the record or the picture that we ended up using, which is us in a living room. There's not really any meaning behind the record or behind the picture that we ended up using. It's just us on a couch. I think Joey's sitting like behind us or whatever, and Keith is like pointing the television, like the remote control at the television, which
Yeah,
we just was like like I said, we were just kind of goofing off, getting together, for, like just trying shit. So we just ended up thinking that picture looked cool, and we thought it looked like had the most warmth,
hmm,
uh, which kind of kind of escaped that problem we had of like, oh shit, we're shooting in like a 20-degree, like it just snowed all weekend. Um, and yeah, so I think it ended up working out pretty well. I think Zach Hobbs, the artwork he came up for, it was cool. Originally, I thought it would be more of a collage kind of thing, but he kind of really embraced the sort of retro throwbacky vibe of it. I think he came up with a cool border,
yeah,
and he did the little circle logo that's in the top, which I think is has a little bit of a throwback vibe to it as well. So
absolutely.
it all just kind of came together. But yeah, that was really the only vision behind it. Was like we want to do a band photo, and we want Zach Hobbs to like kind of fuck with it.
I love that. Now, before I let you go, I have a speed round for you. This is my favorite part of every interview. Um, so I got 5 questions, and you can elaborate as much as you want. I don't care about the speed part of the speed round. So the first question, your favorite song to play live?
My favorite song to play live is um, probably "Rock and Roll Star," which is the first track on the record.
It's such a good opening track too. Um,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
your most embarrassing moment on stage, and it could be with a previous band or with this band, whichever one fits.
Okay, so this is the only band, or I guess this is pretty much the only band I've ever been in. I was in like we started like a hardcore band last or like 2 years ago at this point, but that seems to be kind of like on the shelf for now. But we did play a couple gigs. But I would say my most embarrassing. I do remember one show we played where um, this was a few years ago, but it was like a house show, and it was like in a basement venue. Um, that like a bunch of college kids were at. But I remember I used like a capo for like 2 songs,
Hmm.
and I had put like my capo at the beginning of the set on like the headstock of my guitar, and then I think we were playing the song last or something like that. And I think I was just like fried and being dumb, but I remember I was like my amp, like I'm like I don't know what I did with my capo. So I like asked the crowd if like because it was like a fest too. It was like a 10 bands like all day long kind of thing. It was like some sort of like fundraiser for the local skate park or something. But so I like asked the crowd if anyone had a capo because I was like, I bet like it's like, and then like I like realized like 20 seconds later after kind of like awkwardly waiting, I was like, oh shit, it's like on my headstock. Like, oh, we're good to go. Um, so yeah, that's definitely one that comes to mind for sure.
Your dream tour lineup.
My dream tour lineup would probably be, um, I'm gonna say, let's do like a we'll do like a 4 band bill, I guess. So I'm gonna say us. I'm gonna say Angel Dust, who's like one of my favorite bands ever. And I'm gonna say another pick would be probably like Lou Reed, if I could somehow like play with like 1970s lineup of like Lou Reed. Um, and for the long, would make any sense, but I would probably pick the Melvins because the Melvins are like one of my favorite bands of all time too. Yeah,
That
that
that's
lineup would not make any sense at all. But and as far as like 3 of my musical heroes I want to watch every night, that would be my pick.
See, that's cool though, because when I think of like some dream bills that I would put together, it would be like Alice Cooper, AFI, Ice Nine Kills, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like none of them make total sense, but you can kind of justify it to a certain degree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
that's cool. I actually just started like last year, started kind of getting into Alice Cooper because I had like, I mean, I like liked some songs before, and I still haven't gotten into like his whole discography, but I listened to like the first like couple records for the first time,
Oh,
and I just didn't realize like how fucking like sick it was. I don't know. Like when I was growing up, for some reason, I had this like I've pretty much completely backtracked on it, but I like for some reason didn't think I liked most like 70s and 80s like kind of like hard rock and
hmm
like classic metal for some reason. I mean, I liked metal when I was a kid. Actually, like the first experiences I had playing music was with my neighbor, and it was like a lot of like kind of stoner doom sludge metal type
hmm
stuff. Um, but like for yeah, over the past like 5 years, I've realized that I really like I don't know now I just like love all the like classic metal kind of like Priest and like those are like I love those early Alice Cooper records. Oh, those are pretty much just like straight up rock records. Um, so yeah, I don't know, but I've been like I've realized I have much more of an appreciation for Alice Cooper than I thought I did.
that's cool. I'm actually seeing Alice and Judas Priest together in September.
That sounds sick.
It's
I would kill to see Judas Priest live because I don't know, I've never seen them, but and I feel like they put out a record that was like it's probably been a while at this point, but they put out a record. I think it's called like Firepower,
hmm
and I just felt like that was like the best like legacy band. Like I was like, this is the best record I've heard from like one of these bands who's like 45 years into their career, and like so I was like, I bet they still probably fucking rip live.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I'm really excited too because I've never seen them either. Yeah, their recent stuff is really good. And for a metal band, especially an
Mhm.
old metal band to still be putting out music of that caliber, it's
Yeah.
really good. Blue Oyster Cult's last album, The Symbol Remains, was also a big surprise. Like I'm biased towards them. I think everything they do is gold, but like that one was it was their first album in 20 years and it held up with like their classic like banger stuff. It's
Mhm.
personally one of my favorite albums they've ever made. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, that's an insane build too. That might be one of my dream tours too.
By the way, I
Um
love all the I love the Fangoria like banner, and the Scream is like one of my favorite movies ever. So
oh really?
I love the background. Yeah, I'm a big movie guy. I like all sorts of movies, but I love horror movies for sure, and
Oh
like
dude.
old movies. And we're a band of movie lovers for sure because the other three actually went to film school. Um, I was at the same school, but I wasn't in the film program. But
Hmm.
me and the drummer Jared specifically, he went for screenwriting. He doesn't really do anything with it, but we're like huge. Like I watch like at least like one or two movies a day usually if I can. Um, so we're a big movie band for sure. I
Oh,
wore
dude.
this shirt. You can't really see it, but I saw that this was like a horror show too. So I have this like Jalo Palooza shirt.
I thought that's what that was because
Yeah.
you moved up at one point, I'm like, does that say what I think that says?
Yeah, we
That's
went to
awesome.
at a drive-in that used to be like when I lived in Pennsylvania, it was like 30 minutes away.
Hmm.
They do like it's like your typical modern drive-in where they show like, this weekend they're probably showing like Superman and I don't know, Jurassic, whatever the new Jurassic World movie is, but like twice a year they'll do like I guess like big events. So like this was the one from I don't know if it has the date on it, but I went to a few years ago where they showed like what have you done to Solange and Torso, Deep Red, Cat o' Nine Tails. Like they'll do like a whole weekend of just like like actual cool like kind of old horror movies, usually themed by something. And so yeah, this was the year they did like a Jalo one, and it was fucking awesome.
I love that.
Yeah,
Speaking of Pennsylvania, that's somewhere every year they do like the Living Dead weekend in Monroeville.
yeah, yeah.
I want
So
to go so bad.
that's like in our backyard pretty much because Monroeville is like 20 minutes away from Pittsburgh. Monroeville is pretty much like in Pittsburgh.
That's what I
So I
thought.
actually haven't been to. I mean, I've been to the mall where they shot like Dawn of the Dead, but I haven't been to. I think there's supposed to be some sort of little like museum esque thing there. And then Evans City, where they shot, where Night of the Living Dead was shot, is only like an hour north of Pittsburgh or something like that. So I've been through Evans City, but I haven't had a chance to like go to like the cemetery or anything like
See, I went to college in Wilmington, North Carolina, and that was like a big film city. It was called the Hollywood of the East for a long time.
that.
So
Okay,
like they
just like
filmed,
to film there or something.
yeah, I actually went to film school also.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so they filmed Halloween 2018, Scream 5. In the 80s, they did a lot of Stephen King movies. So like one of my favorite movies is Silver Bullet, and it
Yeah,
was filmed
like
in
Like
Wilmington.
Gary Busey and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
movie's cool.
so when I got accepted, like I didn't bring my car down there until like my junior year, but I was
Hmm.
like the first thing I need to do is go to all the filming locations, and I still never did it. It's
Yeah,
been years since I've graduated. I never got to do it. But the 40th anniversary is coming up soon, so I might have to make a trip down there.
that seems like it would be worth it. I like that movie a lot. I love werewolf movies, and I was watching a bunch of them a few years ago, and I watched Silver Bullet on like Prime or something like that. And
Yep,
yeah, that's kind of like I feel like an underrated at this point, like Stephen King adaptation. Um,
absolutely.
but that
The
movie's fun.
book is really good too. It's like
Yeah,
like a short story, but it's fantastic.
nice. Yeah, I should read it. I don't. I've never read that one.
Yeah, I think it's called Cycle of the Werewolf, and it takes place it reads kind of like a calendar, so it goes month by month by like the
Okay,
lunar cycle. It's really cool.
that's badass. Yeah.
And it's got pictures. So for my reading level, it's perfect.
That's perfect. That's accommodating.
Yeah. So to that point, the next question was your favorite thing to do outside of music. Is watching movies kind
Oh,
of the answer to that?
that would 100% be the answer for me. Um, yeah, especially I've been so this is actually my first year that I've been a school teacher.
Oh,
Um, I teach high school history now,
I'm
and
sorry.
yeah, it's brutal, but it is cool because I haven't had to go to work in like almost 2 months now. So I've just been like 'cause it's summer, so I have summer break. So I've
Hmm.
just been watching like just staying at home and watching like a fuck ton of movies, and it's fantastic.
Definitely when it comes time for the next album, I definitely need to carve out some time to talk to like geek out some more about horror with you for sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to. I would love to come back on and shoot the shit.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
I'd much rather talk about movies than my stupid album.
I feel yeah. I could talk about horror for hours.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. You seem like a fan for sure. I love it. Are you
yeah,
like? Are you into like the Blu-ray game at all? Do you have a bunch of Blu-rays?
I'm still a DVD purist.
Okay.
Same thing with physical media. Like I know vinyl is really big now, but I still
Mhm.
have like a tower of CDs on the other side of my room.
Okay.
I actually just started my vinyl collection over the weekend because I came across Sing the Sorrow by AFI at
Uh,
a,
that
it was
was
like,
like huge.
yeah, it's like the 20th anniversary box set, and it was like $70 cheaper than if I would have bought it online. So I was like, you know what? I should just buy it now and
Yeah,
ask questions later.
pull the trigger. Yeah.
But yeah, I have a very short list of albums because it's really just albums that like I was really into, like they meant a lot to me growing up or something that I want to have for like display purposes because I don't have a turntable
Um,
or anything. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm trying to carve that out now. There's a couple AFI, a couple Blue Oyster Cult, maybe one or two Manson albums. There's a lot. Like the more I think about it, I thought it was going to be a short list, but then the more I think about it, I'm like, shit, it's not that short.
I started buying record. I kind of stopped buying records. I was buying them for a few years, like pretty often. I don't have a huge collection or anything, but I probably have like, I don't know, like 100 records or something like that. But I ended up
Wow.
selling a bunch. I just feel like I wasn't listening to them that much really, and I just kind of like one day sat down and I was like, if I haven't like listened to this like the record version of it, if I haven't put it on this turntable in like the past like 3 years or 4 years, like I'm just gonna kind of sell it to like clear up some space, you know?
That makes sense. And that's part of why it's taken me so long to even buy a vinyl because I don't have a turntable. And I'm
Right.
like, and they're also like more expensive than CDs. So I'm like, you know what? But when
Totally.
it has to be a specific album. I'm very picky, much like with the horror movies I watch. Um, but the last question, my favorite one always, the song you wrote that means the most to you.
I'd say the song I wrote that means the most to me is probably the Jesus Drives, the single we put out for the record. Is I don't get super personal when I'm writing. I actually prefer to kind of write with like, characters in mind. Of course, like most songs, like end up having at least a little bit of like inspiration from like something I've went through or seen in life or whatever. But I don't like usually write like songs that are like 100% personal or anything like that. And Jesus Drives isn't 100% personal or anything,
Hmm.
but it is sort of inspired by like my grandpa a little bit. Um, so I guess it does. It means a lot to me in that sense, and also I just think it's like one of the best songs we've written and recorded. So I'm just kind of proud of it. It's like the first single off our first record, so it kind of has a special place in that sense too.
It definitely seems like an important song, whether it's like a personal favorite or not.
Hmm.
Just the fact that it is the first single of your first full length, I mean, that alone
Hmm.
is a big statement.
And I actually remember a little funny anecdote when we were recording. I remember Damien, the guy who's producing the record, said to me at some point when we were working on that track, like, he was like, I don't know, like, what you're saying in the song, but he's like, I can tell it's like important. And I was like, yeah, it does kind of feel like that. So, yeah, that's a good pick for it, I think.
Now, for this go around, this was everything that I had planned for this interview until the next album and we talk more horror. But for
Yes.
now, was there any closing message to any Rex Tycoon fans watching?
Uh, no, not really. I mean, just No Limit to Love comes out August 1st. Smart Punk Records. You can buy the vinyl online. I think there's two different variants of it. This is the first time we've ever had like records for sale, so definitely go check it out. Pick up a copy if you like the record.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time, Austin. This was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again soon in the next couple years, and
Absolutely.
hope to see you live sometime too. But until then, for everybody who watched this interview, thank you so much for watching. And until the next interview, stay tuned, stay scared, and I'll catch you later.